Tell me something. When was the last time that you were truly alone? Alone in a room without any distractions, any background noise, just you, the silence, and your thoughts. What if I told you that the person you miss the most is yourself? Think about it. Somewhere between being the class entertainer, the office extrovert, the life of the party, you started performing. You became someone who feels alone in a room full of people. And now when you're actually alone, it's not the silence that scares you. It's the absence of the version of yourself who didn't need the noise to feel seen. You see, if everybody around you is supporting you, you're not doing something very big in life. You really aren't. Because most people, they don't want you to become too successful or get too happy, because then you'll expose them. And the truth is that the journey to success, whether in entrepreneurship or as an athlete or in any endeavor in life, is a very long, painful and challenging journey, and it can get lonely because it's designed that way. So it really bothers me when people say that I'm getting a lot of hate, people are talking shit behind my back, or I feel alone. You've got haters? That means that you're on the road less traveled. That means you're going to a place most people are never going to go in their lives. The very fact that you're experiencing all of these things means that you're on the road most of your role models have been on. The people who change the world, the people who change their own world. And when you're on this road, there are going to be people who are going to get you to yield, to give up. But it is your decision, listening to me right now, to say, I will not yield, I will not give in. My will to be successful, my will to do something big is not for sale. Have you ever noticed how being alone is a paradox? On some days you crave it, no notifications, no obligations, just you in your little bubble of peace. While on the others, that same silence turns heavy. You overthink the smallest things and suddenly the quiet becomes deafening. So why is it that being alone can be both a luxury and a punishment? And why does solitude on some days feel like freedom, while on the others it feels like loneliness? Well, find the answers inside. Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen. Today on Sood It Out, we're discussing the fear of being alone and how to turn solitude, not loneliness, into your superpower. See, it's very important to understand the difference between being alone and feeling lonely. Because being alone or solitude is a physical state, while feeling lonely or loneliness is a mental state. And the thing is that most of us, we confuse the two. And the fear of being alone, it runs deep. But why? Well, you see, the thing is that all our lives we've been fed this idea that if you're alone, then you're unloved, unworthy, unwanted. Society doesn't applaud the lone wolf unless it's in a movie montage with a dramatic ending. You see, in reality, being alone in a cafe means awkward glances. A solo trip raises eyebrows, and God forbid, dinner for one, and suddenly you're the main character in a tragic film. But here's the kicker. You see, this fear, it's manufactured, conditioned, passed down. Childhood, culture, media, all of them romanticize connection and demonize isolation. We've all grown up watching characters who became whole after they found the one. But nobody bothered to tell us that maybe we could be whole on our own, and that maybe we already are. And maybe the missing piece isn't somebody else, but the part of ourselves that we've been running away from. Which brings me to today's deep dive. Today we're discussing why the fear of being alone feels so unsettling. What are the main reasons behind your fear? And how you can change that time spent alone into a launchpad for greatness. Number one, the illusion of freedom. Ever notice how the first time when you moved out of your house into a new place, into a new city, all alone? Total anarchy, you could do anything you wanted. You could wake up in the afternoon, you could come back home at 4 a.m. Parents were not there to check on you, your roommates were unbothered. You felt like a king, at least I did. But give it a week and 10 days and suddenly those walls start closing in. Those walls start echoing every thought you've been trying to desperately avoid. Why? Because you see, moving into your own place, it's not just a change of address. It's a confrontation with your own mind. It's a front row seat to your inner monologue. And if this feels relatable right now, stay with me because I will change your perspective forever. Now let's talk about why we actually fear being alone. You see, there are 3 root causes behind our fear of being alone. And don't worry, problems के साथ नहीं छोड़ूंगा, solution भी दूंगा end में. Number 1, being alone is a mirror. See, at the end of the day, we're not actually scared of being alone. We're scared of what comes up when we're alone. See, we're all social beings. right? We spend our lives surrounded by people. Group chats always buzzing, weekends packed, background noise always on. Distraction is easy and escaping ourselves even easier. Whenever the anxiety starts to creep in, we reach for something. Mehfils, gadies, or just playing FIFA online. We don't sit with our thoughts. We have outsourced our silence. It's like we've mastered the art of escaping ourselves. But one day you find yourself alone. No pings, no plans, no people, just you and your thoughts. And that's when the real noise starts. Am I doing enough? Am I falling behind? Do I even like myself when nobody's watching? See, when you're always surrounded by people, even if it means just one familiar face, it's very easy to hide. But when you're alone, rarely alone, you have nobody to perform for. You have nobody who can help you escape from your own thoughts. And that's when being alone becomes a mirror. Not because it shows you something new, but because it finally shows you something that you've been running away from. The second reason is we don't want to look lonely. You see, in public settings, whether it be a wedding, cafeteria, office, lunchroom, we all look for that one apna banda. Not because we desperately need to talk to someone, but because we don't want to look lonely. When you spot a familiar face across the room, more often than not, you're hit with relief. Not joy, relief. Relief that finally you don't have to pretend doing something on your phone. Relief that finally you've escaped that tag of a loner. You see, the truth is that we don't actually fear being alone in public because of loneliness, but because of how it might look. We've all judged people for sitting alone, and now we dread being on the receiving end of that same judgment. What we project onto others becomes what we fear, and what we judge becomes what we secretly run from. The third reason, alone we question our strength. You remember back in school, whenever you used to get into trouble, but you weren't that scared because you had a friend with you. You used to think कि दोनों भाई इकट्ठे हैं, ज़्यादा क्या हो जाएगा? And you used to walk into the headmaster's office in full confidence, पूरे aura के साथ. But now, if someday you would be caught in trouble all alone, तो ना थोड़ा डर लगने लगता था. That same corridor to the headmaster's office, it used to feel longer. That same door felt a little heavier. And the truth is, we never escape this feeling. Whenever I personally have found myself in a new city, a new job, or in a tough situation, I've always thought, यार कि काश कोई दोस्त इस टाइम पे मेरे साथ होता. Why? Because it's not just the comfort that we crave, it's the confidence. You see, we start to doubt our ability to handle shit alone. Instead of imagining ourselves succeeding at something, we start to imagine ourselves failing at it. And I'll explain this to you with a real life example. So just dream with me, okay? Imagine I drop you off 3 kilometers away from your new home in a new city. If you have your phone with you, it's okay, you'll get home, right? But imagine your phone is discharged. अब तुम्हारी ना थोड़ी फटने लगेगी. You will start thinking, bro, how am I getting home? And all the worst case scenarios will start popping into your head. But now let's switch up the scenario. The city is still new, the phone is still discharged, but now you have a close friend with you. And suddenly it's not a crisis. It's a story in the making. You guys will figure it out. You'll ask for directions, you will charge your phone at a tapper, you will get onto a bus without a ticket, and you will get home. And you will talk about this memory for years to come. You still did not have a plan, but you had backup. And that backup made all the difference. See, the truth is you probably could have handled it alone as well. You could have reached home alone as well. But with a friend, it became a memory that you talk about for years to come alone. It was just anxiety. And that's the thing about backup. You see, backup doesn't just share the load. It silences the doubt. When you have somebody by your side, every chaos feels like a story. Alone, it's just survival. And this fear of braving the storm alone, this is what makes people start running. Not from challenges, but from themselves. So now that we've laid out the problem, the question arises, what about the fix? See, if we could, all of us, we would want to take our boys everywhere, right? To every new city, every new job, to every shitty landlord meeting. We would just drag them along. Unfortunately, though, life does not give you a +1 to all the challenges. So what then now? Well, the temporary fix is to find new distractions, to find new people, and all of us have done that. But if you want a more permanent fix, a fix that might actually transform your entire life, you have to do something nobody has ever taught you how to do. Being comfortable in your own company. Realize today that the journey to the top is lonely. The higher you go, the fewer people who can go with you. Not because they don't love you, but because they weren't meant to walk your path. And if you keep waiting around for people to show up to walk with you, you will end up like the rest of them. Mediocre. Because let's be honest, our world is full of people who chose mediocrity, not because they weren't capable, but because they were scared. Scared of how they would be perceived, scared of losing friends, scared of walking alone. So they chose the comfortable road, the one which is well lit, well paved, not too many curves. Just one problem: it's jammed. Jammed with people who dared not to take one step outside of their lanes. But the road to wild, extraordinary success, the kind of success that you want, it's not a road, it's a trail. Narrow, dark, rocky, and lonely. And very few dare to tread it. Because on this trail, solitude becomes your headlamp, illuminating risks you must embrace to reach the summits unreachable by the crowds. To quote the great poet Robert Frost, two roads diverged in a wood, and I chose the one less traveled by. And that has made all the difference. So if you want that life most people can only dream of, you have to choose the road less traveled. You see, in our world, solitude or being alone is often misunderstood, because being alone isn't the problem. Being uncomfortable with it is. And the moment you stop fearing your own company, it stops feeling like a prison and actually becomes your playground. Because think about it, a sleep-deprived engineer on a noisy factory floor, no investors, no mentors, no validation, just Elon and his whiteboard. People called him delusional. He built SpaceX alone. Or a single mother writing stories on napkins, rejected by a dozen publishers. She didn't crumble, she isolated. And in that silence, she built Hogwarts. In solitude, she became J.K. Rowling. Solitude isn't where dreams die, it's where empires are born. And the difference between loneliness and solitude is that while loneliness whispers, "You're not enough," solitude replies, "Let's find out what you're actually made of." And now let me leave you with a thought that most people never dare to say out loud. Maybe the reason all of us fear being alone is because that's the only time life stops lying to you. Because in solitude, there are no distractions, there is no applause, and maybe that's why we run from it. Because in solitude, it's just you and your raw, unedited self. The version of yourself that nobody else ever gets to meet. In fact, most people go their entire lives without actually meeting themselves. And the ones who do, they don't just survive the world, they reshape it. So tonight, just for once, instead of fearing the silence, lean into it. Instead of calling somebody else, call yourself out and ask yourself, what part of me have I abandoned to feel accepted by the world? Because that one question alone can change your life. And remember, when we started this episode, the objective was never to fill the room. It was always to stop feeling empty in it. So now, how do you transform that fear of being alone into a power? Well, start simple. Tonight, 20 minutes before bed, disconnect. No screens, no distractions, just you and your thoughts. And ask yourself, what have I been running from? And start writing. And keep writing until you stop lying to yourself. Because that's when the real answers begin. After that, in the next week, take yourself out alone. A coffee, dinner, walk, movie, it doesn't really matter. Not to avoid the world, but to remind yourself that you're enough without it. And of course, on the days it gets a little too overwhelming, call your boys. Karo bakchoddi, laugh, vent, vibe, because some days that's exactly what you need. But when that call ends, just remind yourself that your growth does not depend on who picks up. It depends on you showing up. Because every great story starts in solitude. Not with a crowd, but with a calling. So reframe the narrative. Instead of saying I'm lonely, say this is my becoming. Because solitude is a forge where distraction melts and destiny is shaped. So the next time you find yourself alone in a room and the silence gets too loud, smile. Because you're not breaking down, you're breaking through. Ladies and gentlemen, this has been The Fear of Being Alone by Sood It Out. I'm your host Achintya Sood, and if you like today's deep dive, please subscribe and share this video with somebody who's ready to stop fearing the silence and start commanding it. And if you yourself have found your own strength in your alone time, share your story in the comments. Let's hear all about it. I'll see you in the next episode where we tackle the next fear that's been holding you back. Until then, remember to take a deep breath, sit with it, think about it, and of course, keep moving forward. And of course, keep listening to Sood It Out. I'll see you in the next one.